Welcome back, everybody, to the Breakdown Podcast YouTube channel. My name's Corey, and once again, to break down the latest episode of Superman and Lois, it's Vic.
Well, what's up?
I'm not pointing this time.
I did.
Before we get started, we do want to let you know we have a live show that we do every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's on twitch.tv/MillerKing_51. Come by and join the chat. We're currently talking about The Flash. I think there is a new episode this week, and we'll also be talking about Moon Knight as well. And if you can't join the chat, those episodes are available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. So, Vic, one other thing. I always forget this, but please, you've probably heard it 1,000 times from 1,000 different videos you've seen across YouTube. Please hit the subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up and leave us some comments and tell us what you think, because all of that stuff does help the channel out, and we would greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, Vic,
yes, sir.
Without further ado, let's break
this
it down.
All right, this week's episode of Lois and Clark. God dang it, I did it again.
Nope.
See what happens when we
Smallville.
take a break? We take a break, and then I gotta try to remember what the show was, and then it throws me off completely, and it's horrible.
Superman and Lois.
Yes, it's Superman and Lois. That's exactly it. This week's episode of Superman and Lois, now that I got the name straight, Bizarros in a Bizarro World. I guess the Bizarros are Major Anderson and Superman himself are now the Bizarros in this Bizarro world.
Yeah, it would be. I tell you what, before we get into it, I'm just going to give my comments. I actually liked this episode.
Hold on. Before you say anything else,
yeah.
I want to see if I can guess why you like this episode.
Sure.
I think you like this episode because it had nothing to do with anyone else except for the Supes.
That's correct.
There was no Lana. There was no drama. No kids information besides fucking emo Jordan, which is just weird looking. But yeah, as soon as I saw this episode, I was like, Corey's gonna love this episode. Like I'm positive the first thing he's gonna say is that he really enjoyed this episode.
yeah. I enjoyed it because of all of that. Plus, we got to see a different world that was, it was Earth, but it was slightly altered in a way. And there was a lot of things. Yeah, not only was Earth square, but one thing I noticed too in a later scene, somebody was shooting pool, and all the balls were square. And I'm just sitting there thinking, how does that even work?
They have taken this way too far. When he was up in space, he's looking down on the planet, and you see that it's a cube. I'm going, what about the four corners? Like, who lives on those four corners? And how do they survive? Like, how does that work living on the corners?
I really have expected. We start the episode out with Superman. We see him flying through the portal to go to Bizarro World, and then he stops and he's sitting there and he's looking out. I half expected him to see not a square Earth, but a flat Earth.
That square Earth was as close as they're getting to play in that game. I think that's as much as it was. What I was actually speaking of going through the portal, what I was actually thinking of when he was in between was that he was going to see more than one portal. That's what I was thinking we would see, because since we know there's supposed to be infinite Earths and different things, you can consider Bizarro to be one of those Earths, obviously. So I was thinking that maybe in that in between they would see other little portals to different places, but that was it. He just flew through and got right on the other side. So
something I don't know if you noticed too is when Superman was floating there were body parts that were actually kind of floating there, like all those people that had flown through earlier in like a few episodes ago in their suits, and when they got pulled through, it kind of made me think that that's what happened with them. That's their bodies were just sitting there floating in bits and pieces.
I didn't see the body parts. I have to look again. I know that when he went, because the idea was once he got through, when he saw Anderson's body all burnt up right there, I was like, okay, so maybe going through the portal destroys them, but then that can't be the truth, because if that were the case, then this whole situation would be pointless. The whole idea of them merging with their other self would be pointless if the other self can't get there. And since we know Anderson went through, though he was souped at the time, If anybody else came through, then they would probably get ripped apart too. And then at that point, what's the point of the whole story?
What there was a helmet that floated by him from one of those people that had gone through like several episodes ago.
Oh, I didn't notice that at all. Good catch.
that's why I thought that maybe they got that far and they didn't get any farther because basically they just got disintegrated. Well, not disintegrated.
Well, the idea too is like he can fly, they can't. So the momentum that it sucked them into the hole, like what's to say that they could actually make it to the other side of that portal? Because it wasn't like you just go in that portal, you come out the other side. There's a gap in there. And somehow they had to get like, do they just swim? like how are they supposed to like propel themselves to there? And like, I guess you just wait until you get close enough for the gravitational pull of that portal to suck you in. But I don't know, but I didn't notice the helmets. But if that's the case, then good catch. I missed that completely. So this episode is basically based around us getting to see what the Bizarro world / universe / Square Earth is about. And how the people there interact and survive. And it's all done through a series of flashbacks, both from Superman, Bizarro Superman, from John L., from Lois, and everybody else telling the story. Superman gets there, and he is greeted... he gets there.
He first goes to the Fortress of Solitude.
Right.
And he's met with his Bizarro mom,
right?
And she ends up fixing his language so that we can understand everything. And then John comes flashing in and tries to play like he's the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing as a good guy. He's like, "Come on, we got to go help him," but things don't go that route.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like they play the game of the whole backwards thing, and it's funny because the closed caption can't understand the backwards speech all of the time. Some of it did not come out right. Some of the smaller words were fine, but when they got into a larger word, the thing couldn't figure it out, so it was just saying weird shit. And I was like, okay, maybe we should like do regular subtitles so we can see what's going on here. And then they switched his speech, which. Like, Bizarro wasn't able to do that until Mama L changed his vocals. And then, so when he got there and they did that, but nobody did that for Anderson. So how did he do it? Like, he played through the whole time, and then eventually they just understood. So, but what I'm saying, sorry, hold on. What I'm saying is the Bizarros speak backwards. They speak our language backwards in their regular speech. When he got there, he was speaking our language forward, the normal version, but they were hearing it backwards, so they were showing it to us backwards, which doesn't make any sense because he's still speaking normal English. He's just in the Bizarro world, so they're hearing it backwards. Why did we need to see it backwards also? Because he's still speaking our English, Earth Prime English.
Yeah, there was nobody actually reversed his dialogue.
Right, so his dialogue should have been normal English. They shouldn't have been able to understand it, which was the idea. But
in the one scene when Lois meets up with him and takes him back to where they were hiding, he's still talking that way because what's his name can't understand. He's like, what's he saying?
Yeah, Jordan.
So it was still, at that point, it was still that way. I'm wondering if we go back, if he actually talks to anybody else other than our Superman. Because I'm thinking now, I don't think he actually talked to anybody else from that world. So
yeah, he talked to Chrissy and all the people when he was at the newspaper.
I know, but they didn't understand it either.
Right, and he was writing everything down.
Right.
But that's why I'm saying we were supposed to be hearing him through their ears, which is backwards, which still should have been normal for us. Like, we shouldn't have had to deal with that craziness.
At that point in the episode, everybody's talking normal, so we all understand.
And why is it that they write normal, but they speak backwards? Shouldn't they write backwards also?
She wrote down the address of where Lois was staying.
Right.
Now, based on the way that she wrote the twos, I'm wondering if she wrote the twos backwards.
Yes, she did. That's what I'm saying. She she wrote it down and it was backwards, right? He
Right.
wrote
No,
Lois.
well,
He wrote Lois forward
no,
and
no, no, no,
showed it
no.
to her, and she knew what it was.
Yeah, but she knew the twos as going to us will be backwards.
Right.
But when she wrote them down, she wrote them backwards.
Yeah.
So that they were the normal way for him.
No.
Get what I'm saying?
When he opened that little
think
piece of paper, it looked exactly. It says the 22 was above the door, and she wrote it the exact same way on the paper. She wrote it backwards.
No, she didn't. I don't think so. Because that was one of the things I noticed. Because those
I'll go back and look again, but I'm pretty sure those numbers were backwards. But I'll go look. I'll go look.
Those numbers look like if you were to try and write a number backwards, that's the way it looked.
They looked like weird fives because they were backwards.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
I'll look again, but I'm pretty sure that either way, the idea of I guess we were supposed to be the flies on the wall and understand everything that was going on, but it's just weird that they did it that way. In my respect, we should have understood what he was saying, and then they should have made it so that we understood from there.
The bigger question was, when did she write that? She didn't have that whole conversation. There was no time for her to write that.
Yes, and I didn't I don't know if she had something in her hand or not, but she wrote that down pretty quick and then handed it to him, and she's like, "Get out." But what we do find out with everything that's going on is while what led up to Bizarro Superman coming to Earth Prime was a series of events which included the fact that Jonathan had gone rogue after he obtained his powers. Superman is like a superstar, a celebrity there. He's not in hiding. I don't think they know he's Clark Kent, but he's walks around in Superman suit.
I don't think there is a Clark Kent.
You don't? You think he's just...
No, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because when they were hanging out at home watching TV and watching this the newsreels and stuff.
Yeah.
He was still in his
yeah,
suit.
absolutely.
So I don't think Clark even exists anymore.
They just know him as Superman or as Kal-El. And she's married to him, and everyone knows it. There's no hiding it. Jonathan and Jordan and her have kids. They're open about the situation. Tal-Rho is his brother, and they have a positive relationship, as we find out. Everything.
Not to mention, he says later on in the episode when he's sitting at the bar with his brother, he says, "I found a house. It's in Smallville, and." I know he's like, oh, that's weird. That's a weird change for you.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I know. I just kind of like it here. That says to me that he never lived there at all.
Right. He's not a native of Smallville. So, the idea is, there's a whole story behind him that we just don't know or understand.
Right.
So, he... And
plus Lana was the bartender, and they didn't know each other.
Right.
So, there was no history there either.
Yeah. The episode basically progresses with once Major Anderson shows up, and he meets Allie and them when he comes through, and they meet at the entry or the exit to the portal. She's like, "Oh, it is you," blah blah blah, and they start to merge. But they didn't realize that he had powers on the other side or whatever she got. I'm not sure why she got freaked out by seeing him. But when her Major Anderson tried to merge with our Major or Earth Prime's Major Anderson, she was like, "Yeah, we can't let this happen." I'm like, "Why?" I don't understand what your issue is.
I'll tell you why. Because if the two of them merged, he was going to be the most powerful being.
They're all merging. The whole idea is that everyone merges.
Yes, but he's the one that holds the amulet. He's going to be the most powerful one, not her.
Yeah, unless he gives her the amulet after he merges. If she hadn't made a big deal out of it, he would have just handed her the amulet. That was the whole point of him going there, was to give her the amulet.
Well, we don't know that for sure.
Yeah, that's what he said. Before. Well, no, he said when he went through, he's like, we need to get through so we can become our full selves. We can all become gods. We can all become gods. He had drank in the Kool-Aid. He knew what he was going into. He went there and okay, I'm going to do this. He gets there, they merge, and since their Anderson was also on her side, them merging would have put it in her hand, and she could have merged. She was mad because her Allie didn't come through when he came through. That pissed her off. Now that I'm thinking about it, it just popped in my head because she was like, "Where's Allie at? Where's my double or whatever?" And he's like, "I don't know." and she automatically just flew off the rails because, oh well, you're not going to be your full self if I'm not going to be my full self. And so it was basically just jealousy. So she murdered him, had John L murder him because she was jealous.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, why murder their John L and not the he couldn't murder our John L. Our Major Anderson because he's empowered. Okay. I'm answering my own questions here. Go ahead without me.
Yeah, so he ends up the Bizarro Anderson ends up getting burned up by John L. And I don't know if you caught it, but he said, "I've never killed anyone before."
Yeah, I did hear that as soon as you said
it. That to me sounds remorseful. So there's still that inkling of humanity in him.
There's still some good in John L, and that's going to be the end of what's her face. And when push comes to shove, that'll be the end of Allie Alston when it all comes down to it.
Most likely, but I mean, we'll come back to that. We'll put a pin in that because I don't really want to talk about the ending right now. But yeah, he ends up getting out of there. And that's when he ends up going to the newspaper, and surprisingly, it's much more busy than the normal.
Yeah, Bizarro World. Chrissy is doing really well at her little Smallville Times or whatever the hell it's called. She's got a whole staff. Did you see what she was using though? Did you see what that girl was on the computer? She was on one of those the E machines from Apple. Oh, remember the little egg-shaped E machines they made? Yeah. She was on one of those.
I didn't even notice that.
I was like, what in the hell? That's a weird choice.
But yeah, and apparently his face is plastered everywhere now, and with him showing up, they're afraid that, if she finds out that they knew, then they're going to kill all of us.
Yeah, because their world is 100% a dictatorship run by Allie Alston, and her soups and her like cult has completely taken over, and she's in control of the DOD now as well as the media. So she is just using it to take care of or get rid of the people that she doesn't like, basically.
And what's her name? The Chrissy. She realizes he's talking backwards, and when he shows her the note, she's very stealth-like, writes down where Lois is and hands the paper back to him and says, "You need to get out of here." And he goes to that location, and he finds Lois and her dad and Emo Jordan. And that's when they start realizing, okay, we gotta go, or we know where to go. Or they end up going to the farmhouse, which we find out in an earlier shot, the barn is pretty much burned down. And we find out a little bit later why the barn burned down, and that's because Lois had left, and that's why she's hiding. And he was mad. Superman was mad. Bizarro Superman was mad and burned it down with his heat breath.
Yeah, Bizarro Superman became Bizarro Superman because he's a meth head, basically. He had been self-medicating with kryptonite, which in their world gives them even more power, because it's the opposite of Prime World. So
I've had some bad breath before, but burning down an entire barn, that's a whole nother level.
I need some wintergreen gum going on there. They had taken off, and they were hiding out with her dad, who apparently is the greatest dad on Earth in Bizarro World, which tells you something. And Jordan and her were like, well, we don't have superpowers. You're going too far. You the only thing you care about is yourself. And now that John has powers, all you care about is John. And so we're just going to leave. And she takes off, and that throws him over the edge. And like you said, he took it out on the barn, which would explain why when he left, remember when the episode where they show him like doping up and putting on the suit and leaving, I said, man, that whole place looks like it's just been burned to the ground. It's because it was. We just didn't know why it was, but yeah, I can't quite figure out, like, Bizarro World is all blacks, grays, and reds. Everything is just dark
Yeah, it really was.
and like even
Even the
outside in the
sky.
sky has this reddish amber tone to it. Obviously, you have a red sun, which again, red sun weakens Superman, so he is fighting against Supes in their world with their powered sun that gives them powers. It drains his powers slowly. How is he even able to try to keep up with them? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But
Yeah, now that you say that, you're right, because he ended up knocking his brother into the next state at
him
one
and
point.
Lana,
Yeah,
which Lana's has superpowers too
I'm not
here.
real sure how that
So
happened.
I'm assuming that somehow she got a hold of some X Kryptonite. But
It
X
has to
Kryptonite
be.
there shouldn't do the same thing that it does on Earth Prime. So where did she get her powers from?
She may have been taking the kryptonite though, because apparently kryptonite's a thing that's in containers because that's what was at the house even.
Do you think that
Because John found
maybe?
this. Yeah, so that's the only thing I could
Yeah,
think of.
I was just like, okay, she has her rose symbol on her little outfit.
Yeah,
Dude, did the hand symbol thing get to you?
yeah,
I was like, he's gonna hate the hand symbol thing. It's not a
yeah.
heart, but I actually was not. It didn't bother me. I was like, they actually managed to make that work, because if you do it, it actually is kind of the Superman symbol. I was kind of impressed that they pulled that off. Somebody was like, you can make the Superman symbol with your fingers.
But I think they were doing it. I don't even know how they were doing. I feel like I'm throwing up a gang sign, so I don't really want to do it on camera. But I feel like they were doing it backwards, and it was a normal S to us, and it should have been a backwards S.
Right. So yeah, if you put your fingers together and you put your basically you do this.
No.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm doing it.
Now we're getting demonetized.
Whatever. It's the Superman symbol. If that's the case, we'll get demonetized when I put clips in. So whatever. When he does it, I was just like, okay, and then he continued doing it. I was like, God, please stop it. And then he did it some more. I was like, no.
Yeah. I gotta say this. I do, even though the colors were kind of
Muted.
all the same, I do kind of like the styles that everybody had. And that was another thing.
It was very I kept thinking like Dark Crystal, not Dark Crystal. What's the is it
very cyberpunk?
Yeah, no, Dark Crystal is what I was thinking of. No, it's not. What's the one with Sting where he's he kidnaps the kid? Labyrinth. Everything that they were wearing was very Labyrinth.
That was David Bowie.
Whatever. Anyway, it got me there. It was all Labyrinth. Like the feather shoulders when she walks out, when he gets her all dressed up, she walks out. She's got on the dress with the feather shoulders, like Lois got married in. They're all black and gray and muted colors. Like it's just, it was very much like that. That's the vibe I got from it. But everybody wore it. Like it was just like that's the way everyone dresses there. It's just an entire emo world. And Jordan was deep into it with his. Mm-hmm. Oh man, that was just bad.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think where else should we go?
So basically, this entire episode is everything that has to do with Jor-El. He had to be restyled as the new Superboy. He didn't want to be called Superboy, so that got shot down, and he just became Jor-El, son of Kal-El, which is okay, whatever. And then he went about doing deeds with his dad until he got tired of that. At 15, he decided he was good enough to be his own superhero. So when he went to Bizarro Starbucks, and got his latte, he managed to stop a head-on car collision. And they're like, "You can't do that. You're only 15." He's like, "I stopped a car crash. People, back off." And I was like, "He's not wrong. Like, it was a car crash. Back off."
It's also good to know that Starbucks is actually in the Bizarro world as well too.
It's
good to know.
But that's what caused the rift between him and Lois, and obviously he had to have been pulling punches when he was hitting all the regular. Like, he punched his grandfather, he hit Lois, like all of this stuff. Like, he's hitting people. He's got to be pulling punches, but he's still sending people flying across rooms. Like, that should have broke his grandfather's jaw. Like, he would, like, none of this should have been able to have been done against regular people. But when they realize that he has turned heel and he's gone to the dark side and he's working for Ali Elston, basically, like, the rest of the super family is like, we're screwed. and while this is all going on, and while Allie is merging with herself when they finally find them, Talro, Lana, and both of the Allies show up at the farmhouse, and they end up beating Soups down and taking the Oblivion Stone from him, and then using it to merge the two of them. And then she's like, "You take the stone, go merge with your other half."
Okay. Now, hold on. I want to back up just a little bit. In one of the scenes where they were showing Superman, and I'm going to call him Superboy, I don't care. As a side note, I really like the clothing choice, because it was to me, it was comic accurate, so I enjoyed that.
And it fit that world, too.
Yeah. Did you notice, though, that if you think about it, most people, when they're shooting a gun, it's right-handed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are very few left-handers.
Right.
But everybody in this world is all shooting left-handed.
Well, yeah, because it's the opposite.
No, I know it. That's what I'm
like the little, you have to appreciate the little things. Yep.
Yeah, it's the little things. It's the little things that I noticed. So that was neat to see.
How about Anderson trying to do the Superman pose while he was flying? And it looked awkward and stupid. It's like,
I'll tell you,
why are you doing that?
Some of the flying scenes did look bad, though. I'm not gonna lie. There was one shot where Superboy and Superman are flying together during the little montage thing. I'm just like, ooh, that does not look good.
Yeah, you can tell. Like, okay, he's literally laying on a box. You can definitely see that.
Or harnesses,
right? But once this is all going down, like, and I as they are going through, we also find out. This is later on in the episode. We already brought it up. Talro and him were actually close. Talro is actually the nicer of the two, kind of, as he talks about how he's always picking on our Talro in Earth Prime is always picking on Superman about wearing his heart on his shoulder, and he said this: "I wear my heart on my sleeve, so you know how I feel about things." So that was like the flip of that situation, and then he gets married to Lana after that brief interlude. So now we know that they're husband and wife, and that's a whole thing. Because I was like, why is Lana there? The other thing I thought about too is Chrissy was very helpful to Anderson. So it leads me to believe that when the our Chrissy went there and saw her Bizarro self, that maybe they might have had some sort of an interaction. So, like, I can't figure out if you drink the tea and you die and you go to the Bizarro world, are you corporeal? Like, are you a physical being when you do that? Or are you just like a ghost walking around seeing what's happening?
I don't know. I don't think they ever elaborated on that.
They don't, and it confuses me because I'm like, why does anyone know what anyone's doing there if you're just being sent there to see what's happening? Like, is Bizarro Alley sending other people to our world? Like, are there a bunch of people walking around that we just don't see? Like, it's a weird dichotomy. But because we know what's going on with Allie, and that she now has her version of herself has come through, she wants to merge, and she does so. And as she merges, for some reason, she's able to shoot Sith lightning and take out Superman. So that's a thing that happened. And while that's going on, Talro is like, he's holding on to him so he can't do anything. And she's like, she throws the Oblivion Stone to John L. And he's like, go get your other half. And he takes off. And then Talro, like, keeps his promise to his brother since he wasn't able, or keeps his promise to Bizarro Superman since he wasn't able to keep it to him. He's going to keep it to Prime Superman, and he lets him go after John L. But here's my thing about John L. He comes through. He is perfectly fine. His hair is not even mussed. His clothes are not torn. Like, nothing is wrong with him when he goes through to Prime World, right? But when Bizarro Superman did it, he had to put on an entire suit to survive the transition.
Well, and not only that, when our Superman went there, it
tore his shit apart.
Yeah, it tore it apart. But I mean, you see fixing himself,
yeah,
healing.
because he was
But
ripped. His skin was literally ripped off of his face, and once he landed there, his regeneration kicked in.
but his cape was torn up
Yep.
going through, and it was fine the rest of the episode. So I don't. There's kind. I mean, yeah, we can nitpick that, and typically I would. People probably call me out on it, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, as far as John L coming through, yeah, he probably should have had a little damage.
But like the other part to that though is like Bizarro Superman knows what's happening. Like he knows that Ali Alston in his world has taken over. She's trying to get into the Prime world to take over. Like when he came in hot. He came in like super aggressive. He came in trying to kill Superman. What was the point of that? If you knew you needed to get there, explain to Superman and the DOD what's going on, that they've got moles in there. You know, he had all this information of what is going on, and instead of coming to Earth Prime and trying to seek help from Superman, he comes to Earth Prime and tries to kill Superman for no reason, because he hasn't done anything to him. And as far as he knows that he wouldn't, but he comes in hot. I don't get it.
I think the reason is he was so dead set. He'd already seen what was going on. He was worried about his family and the destruction that's been going on. So he wanted to fix this on his own and didn't want any help. Meanwhile, Superman, our Superman, doesn't know any of this, and attacks first.
Let's put it this way. Without me saying a word to you, Bizarro Victor comes running at me, or Earth Prime Victor comes running at me, hot, full tilt, ready to fight, right? All you have to do is go, don't talk, don't say anything. It's like, dude, wait a minute, I'm not here to fight you. Nope, like hands up, nope, don't, yeah, it's all good. It's all good, we don't need to fight. And then try to explain it. It's just, this irked me mainly because it's counterproductive to the storyline. If he had have done anything to try to communicate, even though he couldn't talk to him directly. I mean, Anderson got there, and within 5 minutes, he was writing notes to people so they wouldn't hurt him. Superman couldn't have done that coming from the other direction? Come on. Especially if he's supposed to be a good guy, and he's learned the errors of his ways. He knows he needs to do better, so he goes back. He goes to Earth Prime and just starts murdering people. It doesn't make any sense. Like they started this story in the wrong direction for me to believe that he was a good guy the whole time and only wanted to help, because that's not how they played him out when he got there at all, in any way, shape, or form. They did him like dirty in that respect. So. He
may have thought that everybody on our Earth had already been turned, so he wasn't caring if he killed people. I don't know.
But there's nothing to say that. There's nothing to say that that's a thing. Especially since he knows that like an average person can't go through that portal. Look what he had to go through. Just that portal wasn't there to let anyone get to the surface. Like there's a big hole now because Superman dug it. It was, or Bizarro Superman dug it. There was no way of getting to that portal room prior to him digging his way out in order to get to the surface. So there's no way he could have been like, oh, other people have come through and caused problems. They're already infested this world. That's not a thing that could have happened based off of what he saw. Like not even guessing like, oh, this is a big cavern with a portal in it, but there's no other way out of here. I'll have to dig my way out. Nobody came before him, obviously. It's just there's a bunch of leaps that didn't need to be made, and they should have given him the opportunity rather than just like making him the mini boss for a couple episodes and then throwing him away.
This is probably an example of them writing out episode to episode, and then when it came around to this episode, they didn't go back and see what they already wrote. As far for those previous episodes to make everything make sense.
Yeah, that was the one thing that irked me about the whole thing, is like it just did not. All the things that have happened here and all these things that are supposed to be flashbacks from the past would dictate that Bizarro Superman would have done things differently. Because like this isn't something that's just happening in real time. This is something that happened before he came. This was the past. So all of this had transpired. When he got there, he should have been in a different mindset. He should have been looking to get Superman to help him, not trying to kill him for no good reason. But with that said, the other thing that that transpired was, and I'm kind of iffy on this. So here's my thoughts. When you merge in this situation, you become quote unquote a god. One of your existences is merged or winks out. I don't know how this works, but when Ali Alston of Earth Prime merges with Ali Alston of Bizarro World, they become one person. Who's the person?
Both.
So you think that it's a mix?
It's like a melding.
Okay,
yeah.
So if that's the case, if Jonathan were to merge with our Jonathan of Earth Prime, one of them is going to be kind of the primary mindset in some way, shape, or form. And the idea is that would be John-El, because he's coming into it more powerful. But the fact that he has some remorse about killing, which honestly I think it may have been stamped out when he killed Anderson. That might have been the last step. Like, okay, I can kill when I need to. I don't care anymore. But if he hasn't gone totally to the dark side, then if he were to merge with Jonathan, who's to say Jonathan doesn't take over and become Superboy John-El, but with the powers and on the good side to help his father? Which I think that when it's all said and done, he's gonna manage. They're gonna manage to turn him in like one episode, and he's gonna end up going back being a good guy. Because I think the idea is, and next week's episode is called Truth and Consequences. So I have a feeling that like once everything's said and done, he's gonna stop for a minute and they're gonna talk to him. And once they have that conversation, then he's gonna turn good. The other thing is did you notice that they tied down Superboy with duct tape and a kryptonite crystal?
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so
and he
saw that.
Got away.
Yeah. I'm like, what'd you guys think was gonna happen?
Yeah,
like,
I'm kidding.
Like you didn't really tape that kryptonite to him very well, for one. You managed to weaken him enough to do that, but it was duct tape, and he's still Superboy. Kryptonite does not just take their powers away; it weakens them, but it's just duct tape. Think better.
And let's not forget, on Bizarro World, the president is Jerry Seinfeld. At least it's President Seinfeld, but it's.
He said that, I was just like, really? I'm just picturing. What about those superheroes? Oh my god.
Yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed this episode. It wasn't perfect, but at least it stuck with focusing on the main person of the show, and this whole mystery. And all that stuff with the mayor voting. We didn't have to deal with it. We didn't have to deal with anything with Lana. We didn't have to deal with any high school drama. We just got to focus on the real story. And
the budget can't handle what you want, Corey. It just can't. And each episode's budget can't handle what you want.
This is a comic book show.
But it's still, the budget can't handle it. Do you know how much this episode probably cost them to make, with all of the CGI special effects, flying effects, like all of the stuff that was involved in making just this one episode probably blew the budget of 4 episodes.
This is HBO money, though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. You get X amount of money. You get X amount of money for every episode, and if you go over on an episode, you don't have as much money to use on another subsequent episode. So.
Now, I got to say this. That covers everything in the episode, but there's one other thing I wanted to talk about real quick. We talked on this past week's show did we talk about? Yeah, we did. About DC and them looking for their Kevin Feige. And we saw this week that Batwoman and Legends of Tomorrow were both canceled. Mm-hmm. So my hope is that they continue to do Superman and Lois, and they don't have to build around this, but at least keep this a thing. And whatever they're going to do, they still continue to include this somehow, even with crossovers into the movies or other shows. This show is their best one that they have.
So you want them to make this Superman the DCU Superman?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, because I actually do like Henry Cavill. At first, I didn't.
Right.
But the more I've seen him as Superman, I've kind of grown to like him. Now, I do like Taylor Hoechlin. I think he's good. He's great for this role. But I feel like if you're going to do a multiverse, this could be part of your multiverse. But bring Grant Gustin as your main Flash. That's all I got to say.
Well, they with that, they did decide that they are going to. There's a bunch of moves being made, so we know that the MCU is looking at doing Secret Wars, which should make you happy. Here's your scroll thing. But with them thinking about doing Secret Wars, then obviously I feel like DC is going to seriously consider pushing out Crisis on Infinite Earths, which would then allow them to do what you want, which is to allow Grant Gustin to be the main Flash after the final season of the TV show happens. It would allow them to pull other, like, this will explain how they're going to pull other Batmans into their main DC universe. This could be how they pull in Battinson into the main DC universe. Like, there's any way that any of these things are possible, and a way to possibly, and even if they decide to, and I'm not saying they will, but I mean, I still think that Affleck might be one of my favorite Batmen, but I'm probably alone in that fight, but it's a way for them to also, if he decided he wanted to come back, to bring him back into the story. So
yeah, I think he would. I think he would, considering the changeover and the moves that they're trying to make.
Yeah, if they end up doing it,
back.
there are a lot of positives to them kind of reorganizing the DC universe, and if they are going to find their Kevin Feige, which I'm still not convinced of who that will be. I know that you think that Zack Snyder would be the right fit for that. But with them making those changes, I mean, it'd be interesting to see where they go with it, and how far they go with it, as to combine all of the different DC properties out there, because it would give them the opportunity to do what Marvel didn't do, which was legitimize their TV shows into their main movie universe, and now they're just going to reintroduce the characters into their main universe, I think, and then just ignore the fact that they had a whole thing going before. So
plus, don't forget we got a Green Lantern show coming up too. So
yeah.
Well, with all that said, we do want to thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. And on behalf of Vic,
that's me.
I'm Corey. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya!